We've had a few different gadgets over the years that were made for travel, and this probably is one of my favourite ones. As it says on the case, it's a door wedge and it's made by T.R. Hill. Well, what exactly was it for? Let's get it out and show you exactly how useful it would be to a traveller. So, what was the door wedge for? Well, essentially, it's a piece of extra security. It's a lock, a door lock. And if you're travelling in the 19th century, there's probably a very good chance that you're going to stay in an inn or a public house in one of their rooms upstairs. And of course, the lock on the door of your room, if it had one at all, might not be very good. And so you'd want to take something yourself just to make the door even more secure so that in the middle of the night a thief didn't come in and steal your belongings or attack you or whatever. You had to get a much better night's sleep if you had one of these in use. So how does it work? Well, let's imagine that this is the floor of our room. And you'll see on the bottom here that you've got a couple of teeth on this door wedge. So if we also imagine that this is our door, and typically there would be a gap between the door and the floorboards, you would slide this under the door, probably press your foot down on it just to get those teeth to bite, and then you could increase the wedge by putting in this beech wedge here, and that would make your door really quite difficult to open. And if someone did try and open it, the noise that they had to make to try and force it would hopefully wake you up and prepare you for the intruder. Well, you might have noticed that this has also got quite a lot of information stamped on it. If we start with a case, you can see there that it says registered door wedge on it. But also on the brass, it says to the top, T.R. Hill, registered 17th of December, and a registration number 1296. And also on the beech wedge, it says registered, and again with a date. So we know that this beech wedge is original to it. You can imagine that quite often these wedges might get lost and separated from the brass section. So it's really good to know that this is the original one because it's stamped. And we've had these in different sizes. We've had them larger than this. We've had them in different colour cases as well. We've also had them in red leather cases. Sometimes they're just stamped T.R. Hill registered. Sometimes they've got more information on them, like this one. And we've also had them with other names on them. We've had one or two which have been stamped Underwood, one which had a brass wedge, and we've had one which was stamped James Beddington, and his business was located at 10 Russell Street, Birmingham, and he described himself in an advert of 1858 as a manufacturer of drawing instruments. He's also, incidentally, known to have manufactured a map of Australia's goldfields with a compass attached to it, which he made in 1853. So you can imagine that he might also be the sort of chap who would make something like this and possibly even invent it. It might have been that the two of them invented it at the same time, or that neither of them invented it, and Hill stamped all of his details on just to give the impression that he did. I think the fact that there is so much detail, the date and the number, suggests that he probably did come up with a design, but you're never 100% sure of these things. Quite often makers would stamp patent or registered on their work when they hadn't paid the money to make sure it was patented or registered. To the back of the wedge, you can also see that it's stamped again. If we go to the front of the wedge, hopefully you can see that it says at the bottom there, Coleman Haymarket. Now, he would have been the retailer of this, and the only Coleman that we can find on Haymarket round about this date is William Coleman, who was a cutler and a dressing case maker. He was at 4 Haymarket. But he did have competition on his street for selling these, because Henry Underwood, who we've already mentioned, was a cutler at 56 Haymarket. So quite nice to have this one fully stamped, but also marked with a known box maker, a known cutler. Now, you might have noticed with the case that it's quite flared around the top, and also the aperture to the main body of the case. And the reason for that is that quite often when people store them in the cases, they don't bother to remove the wedge from the brass, making it much fatter, causing the teeth to push against the inside and mark and expand the apertures of the top and the bottom. So if you've got one, what you always need to do when you pack it is remember to take it out of the wedge, turn it upside down against it. Let's get this string out of the way, and then you can slide that in like that, and it will look after the case a little bit better. So it's a T.R. Hill registered door wedge, a security lock for when you're travelling, and it's mid-19th century. The design registered 1847, and it could be anywhere from, say, 1847 to 1870 in date, but a really nice gadget. We've had a few of these in the past. To my mind, not enough of them. I love them. I think they're great things. And this is a really nice example, retaining its leather case. It's not uncommon for the cases as well as the wedges to be lost.